What's going on, fantasy world? It's your boy Hot Soup, and I'm here to bring you week 8 overachievers. Those guys that are on benches, those guys that are on waiver wires, hanging out, that just have stupendous outings, man. We're going to go over some guys right now. Wait till you guys hear about some of these running backs and receivers that overachieved in week 8. Stay right here, and we're about to get into it. We'll start off with quarterbacks, man. Sam Howell ends up the number 1 quarterback in week 1. Sam goes off for 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception, had 3 runs for 11 yards, ended up with 31.98 fantasy points for week 8. Sam Howell was an absolute monster. They were fighting from behind. That guy gets big ups from me. I've been talking about him all year. We knew he had the potential to blow up and be a number 1 QB in one of these weeks, maybe 2 of these weeks coming up. I don't see things changing. He has a lot of weapons in that offense, man. They don't have the best defense, meaning they're going to be down a lot in games, man. And Sam Howell's going to have to throw them into games. Definitely Sam Howell's one that we need to get on our waiver wire pickups. Just want to throw that out there. Another guy who has been having a down season and ended up blowing up. His first half was amazing, was Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott went off for 304 yards through the air. He went off for 4 TDs, 1 pick, and he had 4 rushes for 19 yards, ended up with 29.06 fantasy points and standard scoring. Dak was the number 3 quarterback this week. I was telling people don't drop Dak. I had a couple people who was dropping him in leagues, man. I was picking him right up. I got him on a couple of my benches, just hanging out, waiting for him to heat up. He has weapons, so it's not like the weapons weren't there, man. I think just game flow and opponents and him having to get warmed up. Dak may be flying these next couple weeks, man. We'll see. Running back, number 1 running back this week. No one would have thought about this guy. He was being dropped, only owned in 70% of leagues. Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards goes off for 19 carries, 80 yards, and 3 TDs. That's right. Man got in the end zone 3 times. And obvious, man, because Lamar Jackson had a terrible day. Seeming as Lamar wasn't running the ball, man, Gus Edwards was toting that rock. They was giving it to him at the goal line. He's a goal line killer. He's a big back. Leans forward, man, get you that extra 3-4 yards, that push they need. He's perfect for that offense. I'd love to see Derrick Henry get traded there. That'd be ridiculous. But yeah, man, Gus Edwards, big shots out to you, man. You had a great game. Keep balling. Number 2 running back. Everybody, man, did not know and did not see this coming. 27 carries for Javonte Williams over in Denver, man. Who knew that Denver would be up like that and want to control the game by the run? But they did it. Man, did not have the best yardage per carry. 27 rushes for 85 yards, but he did score a touchdown. He had 3 receptions for 13 yards, ended up the number 8 running back off the board this week, and he had 17.3 points. Great game, Javonte Williams. Next off the board, man, this guy's not going anywhere. Zach Moss. Look, Zach Moss had 11 rushes. Guess how many rushes Taylor had? He also had 11 rushes, meaning they are splitting carries over in Indianapolis right now. Even though Jonathan Taylor is the big money man, Zach Moss had more points. 11 rushes, 66 yards, a touchdown. He also had a reception for 8 yards, ended up with 13.9 fantasy points, scored more fantasy points in standard leagues than his compadre, Jonathan Taylor. I'm upset because I dropped Zach Moss in a bunch of my leagues. He's going to be a running back, high running back 3, low running back 2 for the rest of the season, meaning he will be able to get work and you can start him in your flex. Receivers, man, finally had a game out of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb goes off for a career day. 12 receptions, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, ended up with 2 TDs off 14 targets. Look, I told y'all, eventually CeeDee was going to get going. You can't pay a man what you're paying him, be the best player on the field, and not get him the ball. All right, we're in the NFL here. All right. NFL stands for not for long. So while we hear what we need to do as a team, if we're paying these mans millions of dollars, we need to find out how to get the ball in our best athlete's hand. And they did that on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb ended up with 35 fantasy points, man, the number 1 receiver in scoring this week. Great job, CeeDee Lamb. Big ups, and I hope to see you flying high for the rest of the season because I got you in about 4 leagues. This was a headbanger. DeAndre Hopkins comes out of nowhere. 4 catches, 128 yards, and 3 TDs. And why? Will Levis comes in and is a gem for the Titans. Will Levis goes off for 4 TDs, throws 3 of them to Hopkins. I'm talking about that boy was sitting back comfortable and airing it out, throwing that ball downfield like Tannehill cannot do. Your boy DeAndre Hopkins goes off for 4 receptions, 128 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Number 2 receiver off the board this week and 32.8 fantasy points in standard scoring. Great game, D-Hop. Way to resurrect yourself. Look, quarterback play is big, and this showed us that. Will Levis is going to be a high price waiver wire ad this week. Everybody's going to be trying to get him. DeAndre Hopkins needs to start as long as Will Levis is starting quarterback for Tennessee Titans. Number 3 receiver, nobody saw this coming. Rashid Shaheed was a complete animal. 3 targets, 3 receptions for 153 yards and a touchdown. He was absolutely killing them. Look, I know 3 targets isn't a lot, but he did the most with those 3 targets, ended up the number 4 scoring receiver, ended up with 22.8 fantasy points. He was leaving everybody in the dust. Speed kills. Get out your fields. It is fantasy football any given Sunday. Number 1 tight end off the board this week goes to Mr. Taysom Hill. I told y'all go get Taysom a couple weeks ago. He's the man that's going to be getting all the goal line carries. He's the gadget man. Not only that, man, they're passing this man the rock now. 9 rushes for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And he had a reception for 14 yards. Ended up with 21.96 fantasy points in standard leagues. Taysom Hill, go get him. Get him in your lineups. He's a lock. All right, he's going to be a top 10 every week in and week out just because he's the gadget guy. And who's seen this coming? Trey McBride. Ooh, over there in Arizona. Man, Ertz is out on IR. This guy comes in, he gets 14 targets, ends up with 10 catches, 95 yards. Listen, man, Dobbs was just dumping it down to this guy on a regular basis. Check down, check down, check down. And he was doing a lot with it. Ended up scoring a touchdown. Ended up with 20.5 fantasy points. Number 2 tight end off the board this week was some Trey McBride. He's going to be a hot waiver wire ad with Ertz on the mend. Hey, man, those are our overachievers for week 8. Check us out for our underachievers coming up on our next episode, man. It's Hot Soup Fantasy Football. You can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Add your boy. Ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. You need the ingredients to the soup? I got your recipe. 1.